choosing which iterations of the program to test. The researchers and Pratham had many questions about the relative merits of different ways to design a program for community mobilization for accountability, but we knew we had the money and statistical power to compare only a few alternatives against each other. The qualitative work helped us choose which alternatives to focus on. For example, we had planned to test a very inexpensive intervention that simply provided information on learning levels in the community, the resources available for education, and the mechanisms for generating change on posters distributed throughout the village. But when we put up posters in the community and showed up the next day, we found that most of the posters were gone. This experience did not prove that posters would not work. We had tried using them in just one village, but based on this experience, we thought the chances that the strategy would work were low enough that it was not worth rigorously testing a poster-based intervention. We opted for testing a more interactive approach, relying heavily on community meetings to promote information sharing. One hypothesis to emerge from our qualitative work was that the more actively involved communities were in discovering the inadequate learning levels in their community, the more likely they were to take action to remedy them. Two alternative versions of the program that were ultimately evaluated were designed to test this hypothesis. Pratham developed a testing tool simple enough to be used by community members to determine how many of their children could recognize letters or words and read simple paragraphs or stories. In one arm of the study, communities themselves would generate the information on children's learning and present it at a community meeting at which attendees would go on to discuss what action to take. We also decided to use the opportunity to test a new version of Pratham's remedial education program, Read India, designed for rural settings. Pratham saw the community mobilization program and the Read India program as natural complements. Community mobilization around education and an understanding of levels of reading in the community would be necessary to recruit volunteers to teach children in remedial reading camps after school. From a research perspective, testing community mobilization with and without Read India would help us unpack reasons for the success or failure of community mobilization. For example, if people did not take action through the public system, but did take the opportunity for direct action provided by Read India, it would suggest that the problem was not lack of interest in education or a lack of willingness to take action, but rather a lack of faith in the responsiveness of the public system. Similarly, one concern people have about efforts outside the public system is that they undermine motivation to take action within the public system. We would be able to see if action to reform the public system was stronger, weaker, or the same when an option to improve education outside the public system was offered.